Evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed faculty member, and aspiring researchers. Welcome back to day 6 of our faculty development program on research writing and research design, organized by the English Department of Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies in collaboration with Cape Comorin Trust, India. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the organizers and facilitators and participants who have made this faculty development program possible. Today, we are excited to introduce our first speaker, Professor Dr. Beenu Thomas, Global Educator, ex-Dean, Registrar, Advisor of Sikkim Professional University. Ma'am will brief us today on the topic strategy to integrate the different components to address the research problem. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Harshita, for introducing me to the Zoom meeting. I'm really honored and privileged to be here today to present my topic today. So can I share this topic now?
Yes, ma'am. You can share your PPT.
Can you see the screen? Is the screen?
Yes, yeah, it's visible.
So I can't see the PowerPoint. Can you see the screen? Can you see?
Yeah, it's visible.
It's visible. Me also, or video is also.
Ma'am, your video is not on.
Is it on now?
Yes, ma'am, it's on now.
Okay, mane. So I'm presenting this topic, strategy to integrate the different components of components to address the research problem. So I am Dr. Binu Thomas, ex-dean and ex-registrar, also advisor for Sikkim Professional University and also a global educator. I feel honored to participate in such an inspiring event. It is a wonderful sharing opportunity in which one can learn from and with colleagues. And special thanks to Dr. Shailaja Vasudev, Organizing Secretary of the International Virtual Faculty Development Program. Sorry, since I'm not in the country, I had some technical issues which had to be sorted out. That's a delay in it. Anyway, the first part, I hope you can see me and the screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we are here to listen to the strategy to integrate the different components to address the research problem. As we know, we are here for a 1-week international virtual faculty development program on research writing and research design. So I would like to start with the first part, the research design. The research design refers to the overall strategy that you choose to integrate the different components of the study in a coherent and logical way, thereby ensuring you will effectively address the research problem. So here we are going to address the research problem while before starting a research study. And it constitutes the blueprint for the collection, measurement, and analysis of the data. Now, when you talk about a research strategy, it introduces the main components of research projects such as the research topic, area, and focus, the research perspective, the research design, and the research methods. So when looking at your research strategy, the first narrow your interest to a key topic or two and dissect a few studies on your topic of interest. Identify the questions on those few studies and whether they conclude with new questions for future research. In the last phase, what we can do is examine another group of scientific studies on the same topic. So it is always a comparison. They might provide support for your potential questions or even suggest means of sharpening them. So that is why we are taking a comparison, that is examining another group of scientific studies on the same topic so that we can compare, and that can also provide support for potential questions or even suggest means of sharpening them. Then state your propositions so that you can focus on what needs to be examined within the scope of study. For example, you may think that delegating bank regulations to the market forces is worthwhile. This proposition is your guide to where you can search for related proof to define and determine the extent of the advantages to banks. Next, let me just come to the research design. A research design describes the way an investigator puts a research study together to solve a question or a list of questions. It works as an organized plan detailing the study, the researcher's method of gathering data, information on how the study will get to its conclusion, and the limitations of the research. So these are the focus that you have when you start a research study. So your research design should be made so that your study can be focused with certain goals. Research design is also not restricted to a specific type of research and may both include uh, quantitative and qualitative analysis. The primary aim of research design is to help and avoid the situation in which the evidence does not address the primary research questions. A research design is concerned with a logical problem and not a logistical problem. Next, the types of research that we have, one is qualitative, another one is quantitative. So for qualitative, we generally go for the questions like why, observation, symbol, word, etc. Observe and interpret. Then grouping of common data, non-statistical analysis, etc. Everything will come under qualitative research. And then the quantitative research, that is when you talk about the purpose, answer, how many, how much, etc. So whatever question, that is the purpose. Then you have the data types, number, statistical result, etc., which is coming in quantitative, but in qualitative it is observations, symbol, word, etc. Then the approach what you take for qualitative will be observe and interpret. But here you measure and test. That is quantitative. When you talk about scientific researches, like say, for example, very simple, when you boil water, you have a thermometer in the water and see the how much temperature, how much the mercury level goes, and you measure the temperature of the boiling point. The boiling point of water, say for example, or any liquid or anything. So that is quantitative, that is measure and test. But qualitative, that is a social research, which is like observe and then you interpret. You observe a particular situation and then you interpret on that, and then you have another research or topic also similar to one, and then you have a comparative study. Then the analysis, that is the approach for quantitative and qualitative. Then you have the analysis, that is the statistical analysis that you have from the measure and test that you had, the numbers that you have got. With that, you can make a statistical analysis. Here, grouping of common data, non-statistical analysis, what is not there in the quantitative, it is a non-statistical analysis. So this is the difference between two types of research design, that is quantitative and qualitative. Purpose, data type, approach, and analysis. The same thing, quantitative and qualitative research we have discussed just now. It can be divided into four major parts of research designs. First one is descriptive research design, correlational research design, experimental research design, diagnostic research design, explanatory research design. Then the research design refers to the overall plan which I have discussed. Again, I just want to explain more structure or strategy that guides a research project from its conception to the final analysis of data. So this is how the timetable, or when I explain to the class about research design, I generally tell the students that when you talk about research design, it is basically a plan or the class routine that has been given to each class. So how you are going to a particular class in a certain hour, and the next hour you're going to another class, and then you are planning your syllabus accordingly. So how many hours you need for a particular discipline, and then all these have been coming under research design. Similar structure or strategy that guides a research project from its conception, from the beginning to the final analysis of the data. Research designs for quantitative studies include descriptive, correlational, experimental, and quasi-experimental designs. And research design is the method that a researcher selects to organize their research projects or study. Research designs can provide instructions for collecting, analyzing, and measuring data effectively. Using a research design, it is important because it can help you ensure your research addresses your research problem. So research design, when you take it, is very, very important that you have to plan properly, that it will provide instructions for collecting the data, then analyzing the data and measuring the data effectively. And then this can help you ensure the research addresses your this can help ensure address your research problem, and it acts as an outline and guide for the entire research project. So this research design is very important because it is an outline and a guide for the entire research project. It can help you organize all the different components of the research project. Also, one can choose an effective research design by considering your research problem, which is a specific topic or knowledge gap that your research aims to address. Usually, researchers include their research questions and research design selection in the introduction of the research paper. So before you start a research project, you should have all these components ready. You should choose an effective research design by considering your research problem. What is your problem? Research on what topic you are doing and what are the problems that you are going to take up, with which is a specific topic or knowledge gap that your research aims to address. So I told you before, you are doing a comparison, you are taking another research similar to your topic, and then you will see what is the knowledge gap that your research aims to address. Usually researchers include their research questions and research design selection in the introduction of the research paper. And also, it can help ensure that your research addresses your research problem. I told you just now, it acts as an outline and guide for the entire research project. It can help you organize all the different components of the different projects. So whatever you're doing in the beginning, it will help you organize all the different components of the research project. And you can choose an effective research design by considering your research problem, which is a specific topic or the knowledge gap that aims to address. Usually researchers include the research questions and research design selection in the introduction of the research paper. These have been included in the research paper in the beginning. Introduction of the research paper, you include all these things. And one can choose a research design by reviewing the methods, other research papers used, and learning about different types of research design. So when you do a research, you take another research topic which is similar to you or almost same topic, and then you review the methods of other research papers used, and then learn about the different types of research designs there also, the topics which is same to you. So you will have a rough idea before you start the main problem of the research project. So these are the beginning topics. Then you have the types of research design that you can consider using for your research project. First one is the exploratory research. Then one common type of research design is exploratory design. The exploratory design format is useful when you don't have a clear defined problem to study. So you don't have a clear defined problem to study, so then you take a design which is called an exploratory design, which is you are exploring new things in the design. Often this type of research design is less structured than the other research design options, and you can use it as a guide for initial research to uncover your research problem. So this type of research design is less structured because you are trying to explore new things, and you don't have a clear defined research problem of a study. So this type of research is design is less structured than other research design options, and you can use it as a guide for initial research to uncover your research problems. This is exploratory research design. Then comes the next research design, that is observational design. So observational design is a very common type of research design. The observational research design format emphasizes observing your research topic without altering any variables. You will just observe as it is, what are the problems, and you will not change any variables. When using an observational research design, you can simply observe behaviors or phenomena and record them rather than conducting an experiment. So you're just observing what is happening. Maybe a social research or the quantitative research, qualitative or quantitative research, you are just observing or the behaviors or the phenomena that is happening, or and then record them rather than conducting an experiment. So in the natural process, then you have the descriptive research design. Descriptive research design is again another research design. The goal of using a descriptive research design is to describe a research topic. So this type of research is useful when you need more information about your topic. When you need more information about your topic, then you will try to take more information about your topic. Descriptive research design can also help you understand what, where, when, how of your research topic. So these are the questions that have been addressed. Descriptive research design can also help you understand what, where, when, and how of your research topic. The one question that a descriptive research design does not answer is only why. So all the other questions like what, where, when, and how, all these are being taken into consideration. The only question that research only one question that a descriptive research design does not answer is the term why. So the other ones have been looked into. Then number 2, case study. Case study, another type of observational research design, is the case study format. That is very, very important for any research. So you need to have similar cases to be compared and then come to a conclusion. Case study are analysis of real world situations to understand and evaluate past problems and solutions. So you will take a real world situation to understand the problems of the study, and then you evaluate the past problems and solutions. Therefore, case studies are useful when you want to test how an idea applies to real life. And this research design is specifically popular in the marketing, advertising, and social science. So this is basically for social researchers. Why? Because they are trying to observe the situation, and then you have to come to you have to evaluate comparing the problems with the past problems. So the real world situations, you are analyzing the real world situation to understand and evaluate past problems and solutions. Thereby, case studies are very useful when you want to test how an idea applies to real life. So you will get an idea of how things were happened in the past. And this research design is especially popular in marketing. Marketing side also it can be used, advertising areas, and in the social science, in the social problems of the society, where you try to understand the problems in the real world. You try to analyze the real world situations. You understand, and then you evaluate the past problems and come to a conclusion. The 5-part case study format includes: first one, the title. Number 2, it is overview. So this number is number 5. It has come, but number 2 is overview. Number 3, problems. Number 4, solution, and number 5, you come with a result. So these are the different formats or case study format that has been included. First, you give a title, then you try to overview that problem, then you go analyze the problem, come to a solution, find a solution for that, and then come to a result. Next one is action research design. And the type of research design is the action research design. The action research design format involves initial exploratory analysis and the development of an action strategy. So that means here you are trying to have an action research design format which will include the initial exploratory analysis. Whatever you observe in the beginning, you try to explore whatever in the beginning that has been analyzed, and a development for the action strategy has been made. This design format is collaborative and it focuses on finding solutions, making it practical for many research topics. So this design is very collaborative. First of all, it focuses on finding solutions. So first focus is you to find a solution of any research problem. So making it practical. Why? Because it has been looked into the action research design. So make practical for many research topics, and you can use action research design when you want to solve real problems. When you have to solve a real problem, you have to use the action research design. Next one is experimental research design. It is also very common. The experimental research design is especially useful when you want to test how different factors affect a situation, making this design type very versatile. So with experimental research design, you can is especially useful when you want to test how factors affect a situation, making this design type very versatile. The experimental research design uses a scientific method which includes elements like hypothesis. A research hypothesis is a statement that describes what you predict to research to reveal. So hypothesis is the first element that you have in the experimental research design, that is a hypothesis. So it is a statement which describes what you predict about your research to reveal. Then the independent variable. So I told you before, it is different factors affect the situation, making the design type very versatile. So here, an independent variable is a variable that does not depend on other variables. So there are so many variables when you see a research situation. So this independent, it is not dependent on other variables. But dependent variables, it is a variable that depends on other variable. The control variable is the next one. The control variable, it is a variable that remains constant throughout the research experiment. So control variable will remain same throughout. So you have dependent, independent, and control variable in, and also the hypothesis in the study, experimental research design. Now, how to form a strategy, research strategy. So that is the next one. A research strategy refers to a step-by-step plan of action that gives direction to the researcher's thought process. So it refers to the step-by-step plan that a researcher has of action that gives direction to the researcher's thought process. What the researcher thinks about how the process should be, that has been planned step by step of actions. It enables a researcher to conduct the research systematically on schedule. And schedule also, in the first part, when you give all your strategies, you have to give the time schedule also. So how much time you require to complete outline of the time that you require to complete this research. So that is also has to be mentioned in the first stage. So it enables with this strategy, research strategy, the researcher can refer to step-by-step plan of action, and that gives direction to the researcher's thought process. It enables a researcher to conduct the research systematically also and on schedule. The main purpose is to introduce the principal components of the study, such as the research topic, areas, major focus, research design, and finally the research methods. So the main purpose is to introduce the components, different components of the study, such as the research topic, the research area, what are your major focus, what is the design, and finally what method you are going to follow to come to your final conclusion, and then the recommendation that you want to give for this topic. So an appropriate strategy has to be selected on the basis of the following. The research questions are very important, which you will give in the first chapter or in the beginning itself. Then the research objective also, what is your focus and what are you going to find out. Number 3, the amount of time variable, how much time you require for the time schedule that is required. Resources at the researcher's disposal. What are the resources that you have, the researcher has. Philosophical and underpinning of the researcher. So certain things the researcher will philosophically underpin. So that has to be given. The types of different strategies. So these are the appropriate strategy that has to be selected on the basis of these following components. Next one is the types of research strategies. Research strategy helps a researcher choose the right data collection and analysis procedure. So research strategy also helps a researcher to choose the right data, so which is required for their final conclusion and recommendation or whatever. And the analysis procedure also has to be chosen. So this strategy will give you a direction or a focus for the researcher to choose the right data collection analysis procedure. After the data has been collected for the problem that you have chosen, for the topic you have chosen, you need to analyze the procedure. Thus, it is an utmost importance to choose the right strategy while conducting the research. The following section will focus on the different types of strategy that can be used. Number 1, qualitative, quantitative, descriptive, action, basic, critical, and predictive. So these are the different components. Following sections will, these sections will focus on the different types of strategies that are to be taken. First one, let us see the qualitative research. This strategy is generally used to understand the underlying reasons or the opinions of the people on certain facts or a problem. So when you are discussing, suppose when you are going to a real life situation where a particular group of people are having water problem. I'm just giving you an example. So you will try to find the problems in that particular community, whether they have proper water connection. This is an example. If they don't have, so what are the other problems that they are facing? So they need to collect water from a very distant place, or have to wait for the water tanks to come and supply water. They have to form a line, or the borewell which is very far off. So these type of things. So this strategy is generally used to understand the underlying reasons or the opinion of. So you have to find out the opinion of the people on certain facts of a problem which you are taking as research study. It does not involve numerical data. This is a social research. It provides insights into the research problem and helps in achieving the research objectives. So these are provides insights into the research problem and hence helps in achieving the research objectives. Various methods that can be used include interviews. So you are trying to meet people, take interviews of the problems of that particular community or society or a place or a state. So that is what I have given an example of water problem. So you go to the particular place, try to take an interview, try to speak to the people and find what type of problems they have and how this problem can be solved, how this problem can be brought to the limelight, so that some sort of relief can be given to the particular community. This is just an example. So it does not involve any numerical data. It provides insights into the research problem and helps in achieving the research objectives. Various methods that can be used include, I told you, interviews, observation, open-end surveys, focus group discussions. So open-end surveys also, you distribute questionnaires, make them fill. If they are not able to fill, you can ask somebody to help and fill the form. Then you can take a particular group of the community or the society and have a focus group discussion and find exactly what the problem is. So this is qualitative. Qualitative research is basically used in social research, where you don't have any numerical data, but you are trying to find the problem of that particular community or society and then trying to solve that problem and then coming to a conclusion and giving a recommendation or trying to bring it in the limelight so that the problems can be solved in the society. Next one is quantitative research. It involves the collection of primary or secondary data, which is in the numerical form. Under this strategy, the researcher can collect the data by using questionnaires, polls, or surveys, or through secondary sources. This strategy mainly focuses on when, where, what, and how often a specific phenomena occurs. So that is quantitative. It is in the numerical formula. The researcher can collect the data by using questionnaires also, polls also, surveys, or through secondary sources through your literature review. This strategy mainly focuses on, as I've told, when, where, what, and how, but not why a specific phenomenon occurs. Next, you have the descriptive. This is generally used when the researcher wants to describe a particular situation. This involves observing and describing the behavior patterns of either an individual, community, or any group. Now you are describing the problems of a particular society. You are coming to the research area with the focus that you are trying to find out what the problem of that society is. So you are going in, you are trying to describe. So the researcher wants to describe a particular situation. So this involves you need to observe, describe the behavior patterns of either an individual or community or any group. One thing that distinguishes it from other forms of research strategy is that subjects are observed in a completely unchanged environment. Under this approach, surveys, observations, and case studies are mainly used to collect the data and to understand the specific set of variables. So this involves observing and describing the behavior patterns of either an individual. It can be an individual's problem, a family problem, or a community problem, or any group. So one thing that distinguishes it from other forms of research strategy is that that subjects are observed in a completely unchanged environment. Whatever environment they are into, that is been focused. Under this approach, surveys, observations, case studies are mainly used to collect the data and to understand the specific set of variables. Here, you go to a particular person, then or particular family, you visit other families and see what are the problems, collect the information, analyze it, and then you can compare it. So collect the data and understand specific set of variables. So each problem faced by different individuals or the families or the groups or the society. So it can be used. So the case study is very important here. So this is under this approach survey, observation as well as case studies are mainly used to collect the data. Then the basic. According to this strategy, no generalization are made in order to understand the subject in a better or most precise way. And thus it involves investigation and analysis of phenomena. So according to this strategy, no generalizations are made in order to understand the subject. So in a better and more precise way. So no generalization, thus it involves investigation and analysis of the phenomena. Although their findings are not directly applicable in the real world, they work towards enhancing the knowledge base. So the basic things you generally don't generalize. When you go to a science lab and do an experiment, you will not take a generalized result. You will not, your strategy is not generalization. So here you will involve investigation. You will investigate the problem, or you conduct an experiment, then take the result and analysis of a phenomena. Although their findings are not directly applicable into the real world, they work towards enhancing your knowledge. So you can find out a certain physical problem of conducting the boiling point of any particular liquid, etc. Next one, critical. It works towards analyzing the claims regarding a particular society. For example, a researcher can focus on any conclusion or theory made regarding a particular society or culture and test it empirically through a survey or experiment. So, for example, the researcher can focus on any conclusion or theory made regarding a particular society or culture and test it empirically through a survey or experiment. Next one is interpretative. This strategy is similar to the qualitative research strategy. However, rather than using hypothesis testing, interpretation is done through sense-making process. So when you discuss the problem with the individuals or with the families, you will interpret the problem using sense making. Your sense will give some interpretation making process. Okay, this is the problem of this family. The other problem is this. So basically one problem exists in the society. So this is interpretation. It is not hypothesis testing as you see in quantitative research. In simple terms, this strategy uses human experience in order to understand the phenomena. So here it is human experience. When you go to a society or a group or a community or a family, you or an individual, you will find the human experience in order to understand the phenomena. So what exactly the problem is, how this problem can be solved. You come to a conclusion and then you give a recommendation for this, how they can come out of this, how that particular society can come out of this problem. Then next one is the exploratory. That is, it is mainly used to gain insights into the problem or regarding certain situations, but does work towards providing the solution to the research problem. This research strategy is generally undertaken when there is little or no earlier study on the research topic. So this exploratory research design or strategy, it is mainly used to gain insights into the problem. You are finding some insights into the problem or regarding certain situation, but it does not work towards providing the solution to the research problem. So this is generally undertaken when there is very little or no early study has been taken on a similar topic. So there where you have to explore and find the problems, what are the variables in this problem, how this problem can be resolved. So this is a new study, so where no earlier study has been made on this research topic. So you are exploring. Predictive, that is, it deals with developing an understanding of the future of the research problem and has its foundation based on the possibility. Predictive is it deals with developing an understanding of the future of the research problem. You are predicting. It deals with the developing an understanding of the future of the research problem and has its foundation based on probability. This is generally very popular among companies and organizations. Next one, how to write a research strategy. The main components of a research strategy include the research paradigm, that is research paradigm, and research design, research method, sampling strategy, etc. So when you write a research strategy, it will contain certain components like research paradigm, research design, research method, sampling strategy, and it should be in the form such that your research paradigm should guide your research design. So this, whatever research paradigm that you decide on, it should guide your research design also, which in turn should lead to the appropriate selection of the research methods along with the correct sampling strategy. So it should all be coordinated, correlated. So it should lead to the appropriate selection of research methods along with the appropriate sampling strategy. It is applicable to different kinds of research such as exploratory, explanatory, and descriptive. So this has different kinds of research. Next one, what are the first step that you go ahead? Defining the research paradigm, that is, it involves a basic set of beliefs that guides the researcher regarding the way of performing the research. There are various types of research paradigm, including positivism, post-positivism, or constructivism. So this involves a basic set of beliefs that guides the researcher regarding the way of performing the research. That is, there are various types of research paradigms. What are they? First of all, positiveness, post-positiveness, or constructivism. Step 2, defining the research design, that is the research paradigm and the type of research mainly guide the choice of research design. This research paradigm and the type of research, it will guide you the choice of research design. For example, some researchers that include experiments, lean quantitative research design. On the other hand, exploratory research in social science. So in quantitative research, they go for experiments, lean quantitative research design. If it is social research, then it is exploratory research. So whatever the problem is, if there is no similar problem in that society, but still you try to explore and find out what are the variables that are causing the problems in the society. So exploratory research in social sciences often uses a qualitative research design. This must be done very carefully because the research design will eventually impact the choice of research method and sampling strategy. So this must be done very carefully because this research design will eventually impact the choice of research method and sampling strategy. So your research method has to be appropriate to come to a conclusion. So this is where you have to be very careful because your research design will impact the choice of research method, what method you are going to take. Next one is step 3, defining research methods. That is, this step helps the researcher to explain the potential methods that can be used to carry out the research. The choice here also depends on the research paradigm and research design selected in the above steps. Here also, the research paradigm and research design is selected in the above steps. For example, if a researcher followed a constructive paradigm using a qualitative research design, then the data collection can be made, interviews, observation, or focus, or group discussion. So here, for qualitative research or the social science research, followed a constructive paradigm, that is using qualitative research design. Then the data collection method, interviews, observation, or focus, or group discussion have to be decided. Step 4, defining the sampling strategy. This step involves specifying the population sample size. You have to find out the area where you are going to do the research study and then specify about the population, the culture, etc. then the sample size that you are taking, how many people, how many communities, families you are taking, and sampling type of study. In the population, the researcher defines the profile of the respondents, justifies their suitability for the study, wise, education wise, etc. For defining the sample size, a specific formula can be applied. Finally, there are many sampling types of researcher to choose from. So all these components are very important when you define the sampling strategy, specify the population, sample size, sampling type, profile of the respondents, what background they are in, what age group, what gender, etc. All this will justify the suitability for the study. And for defining the sample size, a specific formula can be applied. Then next things to keep in mind while writing research strategies, as there exist different types of research strategies for the researcher. Order to embark according to the study needs, he or she must identify the three main questions in order to write an appropriate strategy. So the things to keep in mind is while writing research strategies are different type of strategies for the researcher. Order to embark according to the study needs, he or must identify the three main questions in order to objectives of questions in order to write an appropriate strategy. Finally, the ethical consideration, feasibility as per the available sources. The second point that needs to be considered is that it should be feasible from the practical point of view. So any topic that you take and the research that you follow, it should be feasible. Something that is possible only, then you go ahead with that from the practical point of view. The researcher should formulate the strategy so that he or she should have access to the data source. So they should have formulate the strategy so that you have complete access to the data sources. Also, some of the research strategies like action research, which are generally highly time consuming, thus the researcher must consider all these aspects while preparing the strategy. Also, another point that needs to be considered is that the researcher should ensure that the strategy chosen must be followed in a responsible way. So the researcher should ensure that the strategy chosen must be followed in a responsible way. For example, in a social science research, participants of the study should be allowed to remain anonymous. They shouldn't be telling that I have given information regarding the problem. So in any social science research, the participants, whoever takes part, the problem of a particular society, that family should be allowed to remain anonymous. Their names should not be exposed because that can create any political problem or clashes between the different communities or different groups. So to avoid that, they should remain anonymous. So these are the important things that you have to follow while strategies that you need to follow integrate the different components to address a different research problem. Thank you. I have taken extra 10 points since I started also 10 minutes late. Thank you.
Harshida ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, tell me.
I have completed my topic.
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
it is made clear to everybody, and if you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah,
Anybody.
the session is open for questions. Any questions for ma'am?
Okay, Pooja Chauhan.
Yes, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, my question is, ma'am, which sampling technique is best?
See, for research, for social research, there is no particular sampling technique that you can follow. So depending on the strategy, depending on the situation and the topic that you have, you have to decide on the sampling strategy, is questionnaire or survey method or telephonic uh, telephonic calls, or then what are the other things? A group discussion. You should focus, and then you take the sample size according to your topic, your research topic. So if it is regarding, I given an example regarding the water problems of a particular society or a community, then you have to see how many families you have to take depending on your how much it is feasible. So that is the last thing that I've explained. Feasibility as per the available resource. So sampling techniques, you have asked for sampling technique, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So it depends on the topic or that you take. So
Ma'am,
how
if my research is survey research, then which is more suitable?
your topic is on?
Survey research. मतलब my research is on survey research because my topic is on psychological variables.
Okay, psychological variables are more similar to a social research. The psychology of any person is cannot be measured. For me itself, right now, if I am happy, or after 10 minutes, I'll be in another mood. Or you can also be happy just now, or 10 minutes after, your psychology can change. So it is the generalization that you take, how the people respond, and then you can compare with the previous researchers and then come to a general conclusion. The feasibility of the problem can be made depending on how strong the topic is. So psychological and social research is all similar. You can't take any precise technique for it. It all depends on how the situation is, and then you compare it and then come to a conclusion, general conclusion, and then you can give recommendation. Is this, am I clear? Psychological. So you can go for interviews, group discussions, survey method, all this, and then come to a conclusion. You can go for the statistical analysis depending on what the data is, and then you can have, and then respondents general background also can be discussed, and hence you can come to a conclusion.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session.
Thank you.
It was very insightful.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving this platform for presenting a topic. I have done research on different topics with the students, as well as for my PhD. I have done research. It was a social research, so I found it very interesting. I took at least 3-4 rounds to complete it, like, because I was in Sikkim. The research topic was on the Sikkim problem, the social, economic, and environmental aspects of ecotourism. So it was so different in different places. The psychology of the associations, since Pooja Chauhan has asked about the psychological study. So these are certain things which you cannot focus. It is, you have to come to a conclusion depending on the feasibility of the available resources. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
I would like to introduce our second speaker for today, Ambassador and Professor Dr. Mehreen Mia, Global Goodwill Ambassador for GIA USA, holding dual doctoral degrees in humanities, education, and humanitarianism. Though her international and local work in education and resource training, ma'am has earned multiple global awards, including her most recent award being the world's most influential and iconic leader. Today, ma'am will enlighten us on the topic, the true impact of research from the self to humanity. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
I'm so sorry. It's just I must apologize in advance before I even begin the greeting. Here currently right now there is no power. The light you're seeing me is just daylight, and there is no because of no electricity. It's just been really difficult for network. I'm still battling with any form of trying to get my PPT uploaded and it's not working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and speak as long as this network does last me. It's been about 8 to 9 hours thus far. So I'm not going to be able to be on for too long. So I'm going to try and get my message across as fast as possible, if that's okay with everyone. So I do apologize in advance for this. And I'm hoping that what I'm going to say and speak on is going to actually be as impactful as it would have been if there was a PPT involved. So before I continue, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone. I greet everyone in the universal greeting of peace with blessings. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Firstly, I again apologize for the delay, number one, and number two, for the no PPT today, but I will try and accomplish what I need to in terms of me voicing and speaking to you about my topic for the day. Let me take this opportunity to also thank my dear sister, Dr. Shailja Vasudeva, for her support, for her encouragement, and also for her invitation to me being the speaker at this amazing event. And of course, with so many eminent dignitaries and the knowledge we've all given off to each other, I think more than us giving off what we know, we all tend to learn from each other as well. And for that, we say thank you. So it's a real honor for me to be a part of this amazing platform and, of course, of the International Virtual Facility Development Program. Today's topic for me is very powerful for me. It's very passionate. It's a topic that I'm passionate about in what I do. And it's about impacting you as a person. How does research actually impact you from the self to humanity at large? And that is what is important for us to understand. As much as we know of research being something identified with science, etc., that is key. But we also need to understand that there's a truer impact of this research, which is what we help ourselves with and how it develops us and how it will develop humanity. And I'm hoping by the end of today and what I say, we will be able to understand this a little bit better. Remember that the impact of your research might not be immediately obvious, which is why we have to continuously keep working at it. If you're doing research now about something 5 years from now, if you come back to the same topic, you might find other findings that will impact your research. So remember that the impact of your research might not be immediately obvious. However, all the research does contribute valuable knowledge. It has the potential to create this change for us today, but also create the change for our future generations, especially if our stakeholders all gather together and we try and do things collectively, as the previous speaker had spoken about in terms of her strategies that she spoke of. Research is essential, of course, but not just from a scientific point of view or from an academic point of view, because research is essential in our daily lives. And this is what I'm trying to get across to us, to help understand how it impacts on us as a self, on you as an individual, on humanity at large. We need it every day. And it helps us to make informed decisions about everything. We're looking at research in order to understand what we need to eat, why we need to eat it, what kind of vitamin we need to take every day. We need research to understand medicine. Why do we need to take certain medications and for what and at certain times? Why does this happen at certain times? The only reason we're able to do all of this and know all of this, the only reason our specialists in these fields know how to help us is because there was always research involved. So we need research on a daily basis because this is what is needed for us to better understand the world around us. It helps us to find solutions to problems, whatever those problems we may be experiencing. But remember that in short, this research is essential for our health. It is essential for safety globally, and research is essential for our well-being as individuals and as humanity, like I said before. Research is what propels us as humanity to keep moving along. If we never had research, we would have massive issues. And remember that research is, I think, fueled by someone who has this sense of curiosity. I want to know something more. I want to learn something more. I want to try and grasp a little bit more about everything to pull it together in layman's terms. That is what we try and do. We're trying to understand how we can get things together so we can find something about that will relate to make a difference. That's what we're doing with research. So research is fueled by a sense of curiosity of a person or persons that come together. We get curious. We ask questions, and we then get involved in discovering how to find the answers we're looking for. And that involves you learning. That involves you trying to educate yourself even further. And that learning becomes a thriving sense within a self. And within that curiosity and the research, we then find that we will progress with somewhat enthusiasm to get an answer for what we're looking for. Without such research, and if we didn't have the sense of curiosity about us, what would happen to all of us now? What would happen if we never had research? Let's think about it. If early civilizations were not curious about anything at all, would we know anything about space today? Would we know anything about the sky, the moon, the stars? Would we know about the land that we're walking on? Would we know about the water? Would we be knowing about any of the SDGs, for example? Will we know how to actually do certain things in order to manage climate change, in order to effect certain changes for poverty? All of these things come together. Why? Because there's always been research, decades of research. And those decades of research have led us to where we are today. And today, we can call ourselves a civilized society purely because we have that knowledge and those tools that come from where we learned of that research. If that research had to slow down back then, if we had none of that, what would have happened? What would have happened to us? We would have become ignorant. We would be not aware of lots of things. We won't understand majority of the things. How will we actually propel ourselves as individuals, as a self, as communities to move forward? Without research, we wouldn't be able to be close to finding cures for cancer like we are right now. We wouldn't be close to finding cures for any of the medical disorders that are around the world. We won't be able to find out how do we understand the psyche of people. We won't be able to understand many things. So without research, we would not have survived as long as we have. And there are still so many things in the world that we need to find out about. We need to discover more. There are so many diseases we haven't touched on trying to find solutions for. There's water issues that are around us. Currently, right now, where I'm sitting, we have a water crisis. There has been no water in some areas for the past couple of hours. I am personally sitting in an area where we had no electricity, like I said before in my apology, for the past 9 hours. So if there was no research done for people to figure out what would be the backup plan, if we had no research and people didn't do research and try to figure out how to pull together a power bank that we all use, how to pull together generators which we can generate some form of power from if we're lacking electricity within a homestead. If none of those research methods were there, how would I be able to have driven where I drove to get here today to be able to be with you? So we have to give thanks and understand that there's still so much more to explore about research. And all of that is only possible to get answers for. Curiosity is going to thrive within us, and we get all of those answers only through research. Thankfully, if you look around our schools, and I come from one, many schools across the globe are turning into becoming more concerned with science, with technology, with mathematics, and research is finding its place in the minds of those students, of those learners. We have educators that are out there now at school level trying to inculcate a mindset that allows for these children that we are trying to teach to develop themselves in terms of thought processes. And that involves how to research this. So in your classroom, you will be giving off certain topics of projects and assessments or assignments wherever you are in the world. And in that, you will tell them, research this specific topic. It's a form of research, but it's creating the mindset of research. And that is what we need to develop in these children in the younger ages so that when they grow older, they will love to do research. They would love to find out more. They would love to become better as who they are. And that is how the research of the world will impact them. How do we enable research to spend their time on instilling and filling out forms? Well, for example, in schools, we have cloud bases, right? Our children get off their details from there. That's how they're able to facilitate how to get their assessments done, where to get what done. But everything means collating. Everything means us coming together. Everything means that we need to have this thriving sense of how research is impacting me. I love to do my research. Why? Because research impacts on me. This is how it's affecting me. When I understand that it has an impact on me as an individual, I will then love to carry out even more to develop that sense of research to build not just me, but even those around me. And that will help to develop humanity. Now, research allows us to pursue our own interests as well as the interests of our communities. And through that, we learn something new. We learn how to grapple into what exactly are the problems. And then that allows us to delve into research that will help us to get into what are the problem-solving skills to those problems that we found. What do we need to do to challenge those problems? How can you challenge yourself in your life, in your daily life, or your family life, etc.? And that entails research findings. Working on that as an initial project for yourself, that will give you the opportunity to work closely with yourself. And most often in today's world, many of us look for mentors. Many of us look for people that we can go to actually help us to get the answers if we are not research minded. And those people need to help us to understand how can we become soulfully research minded so that we can start to look for answers for ourselves, within ourselves, and from what we have out there. So how exactly is a research project, or how does research at all help communities? If I have to look at what I have done over the past couple of years, I would not know certain things about certain community areas that are in need for me to be able to go out there and help them, whether it be a food drive, whether it be a winter blanket drive, whether it will be that there's a school there that needs us to do anything for them, whether it will be ladies as women empowerment programs. I wouldn't know all of this if I didn't have stats, if I didn't have a database, if I didn't have research that was done in that specific area that helps me in my field to be able to understand what needs to go there, what needs to be done, and by when, what exactly is the age group. And all of that is strategically, statistically put together in form of research for me to read as a report, for me to understand the area, the climatology of the area, and how can I help those people maintain and sustain themselves in their areas. Research. That is how important research is, and the impact of research is so key to us developing ourselves. And that is why today's topic for me that I chose on the true impact of research is such a passionate topic for me. All of these small, minute details about life are all based on the impact research has. As someone like me who wants to give off to communities, etc., can only know what to do in certain communities which I don't live in, based on the research I do or the research I have in front of me that was done by others, where they collate stuff together and give to me. And then only am I able to decide how, what, and when I can do what to help that community. So when we're talking about community building, remember, we're talking about economics, we're talking about social impacts. And all of those different things come from the forms of research that are done there. Now, the purposes of this research is to obviously enhance society. And that's what we all aim to do. Every bit of research is done in whichever field that you are doing it in is always done not just only for you. It impacts you, yes. It impacts those around you, yes. But it is a form of trying to enhance and advance society through knowledge base, through scientific theories, through concepts, through ideas. And any research purpose is met through performing and forming certain data collection methodologies. And as the sister before me had said in her lovely presentation, she spoke of the different strategies and the different steps that we take in order to get our findings that we're looking for. And all of these help us to develop a concrete understanding of those findings that in turn helps us to reach the purpose of what we're trying to achieve in terms of especially the characteristics and what we need to get out there for our people. Research purpose is definitely specific. It has to be precise. It's not general, it's not broad, and it's not obscure. Why? Because it has to be defined concisely. And when it's defined concisely, only then will we be able to actually know what we need to take out of there to implement somewhere else. If I, for example, had to take a research project that was done on various communities regarding water issues or poverty lines or hunger issues, and if I had to read all of them, how am I going to be able to designate exactly what is needed for the one I wish to deal with? I'm going to have to take out from there what is required for me and what I think suits me best, and then redo that research on that community and then find what I need to do there. That's just in light of the example I gave earlier. So it has to be a little bit specific and very precise, because the research goal has to be apparent. It shouldn't be vague. It cannot be ambiguous or confusing, especially to a reader. We need to be able to be very specific in what we're trying to do, how we're trying to accomplish what we need to accomplish, and what our end results need to be. Because all of the statements need to be goal-orientated, and they need to be stated in terms of desired outcomes. There is an example that I found when I was doing a little bit of work in terms of today's topic. And it was given by a lady who had done an article not too long ago. I think it was in 2021 or 2022. And her name was Taylor Blake Jacks. She's a scientist. She's also a writer. And I love that she gave an example of language. And in that, she said that when you're trying to actually develop certain methods of languages, for example, if you want to do research on the effect of learning of an additional language on children, so not the first language, their second language, she gave us some key points which I'd like to enhance here. Key points to remember for the purpose of research and characteristics. And here she said the first point is to state the general purpose of your study. So by that she means the study's overall purpose is to examine the effect of learning a foreign language early and how is it going to affect them. So give them the whys and the hows and about understanding what they're really trying to do. What are we trying to do when we're trying to research this? We need to understand this as the general purpose of the study, right? Then we move on to how to identify the specific purpose of every key variable. So how do they grasp reading, fluency, reading comprehension, vocabulary, and interest in that language? And all of these refer to the particular variables of what she's trying to attain in actually doing the finding of that research. The third point that she made was where she says you got to state the specific purposes of the research study. Here she's talking about how to identify, for example, how would your parent actually enroll you in learning certain second languages or a foreign language for that matter, and how often does it affect school? How often does it affect the teachers? How often do the teachers themselves do these things? To determine that effect of learning a foreign language on the children's reading fluency, how does it actually impact on their mother tongue language? Is there even an impact at all, or do they enjoy it as something that is secondary? We need to also then look at that in terms of how to ascertain the effect of learning a foreign language on a child's reading comprehension of their mother language. So once they're learning the second language, how does it impact how they're reading and understanding their mother language still? Does it have a clash? Does it become difficult for them? And she also said that we can determine the effect of learning a foreign language on children's vocab of their mother language. All of these things is how she says. So for example, her general methodology was I need to research and try and find out how foreign languages or a second language impacts the mindset or the details of a child who's learning a first language in school. But while that might be the general scope of her research, it's broken down to be precise and very detailed into these different fragments and concepts of how the children are taught, what they are taught, how it impacts them, in order for her to get to the finding that she's looking for. And then only will she know, she's trying to teach us that we will know how to actually embrace teaching it as a methodology, as a second language, so the children love what to learn. Now, whether we're students, professionals, or even stay-at-home parents, the one thing we must know is that we all need to do research on a daily basis. Why? Because research helps us. As I said before, research helps us to make very informed decisions. Sometimes we don't even realize it's research that's helping us to get by every day, but it's research that allows us to learn about new things. It's research that is teaching us how to actually think critically, how to make good and analytical decisions efficiently. Even if you are a stay-at-home mom, for example, do you realize that it is research that's allowing you to learn how to strategize, how to get your day done? Now, this is why I say there is an impact on the research on the self. because it is an important measure of how you get through your daily life. And if you have to look at research in your everyday life, because it allows us to make such informed decisions, like I've just said, about things that matter to us most. I gave an example earlier about how to even take your medication. Whether we're researching a new car, for example, before you buy a new car, you go and look all of these different makes of cars, whether you're actually studying for an important test, you try and find different examination papers, you research, is there a pattern between each of them? Or whether you're looking in different treatments for a health issue that you have, you're researching different specialists that you think maybe you can go to. Let's get a first opinion, second opinion, third opinion. Which one of them would be better? It's research. It's forms of research that allows us to then get our facts together, and then we make the best choices for ourselves and for our families. So when we talk research, as much as academics will talk of research in terms of university level, PhD level, we need to also allow and make the people who are not academic understand that research is also part of them. Research is for them. Research is about them, and they actually do implement research methodologies on their daily lives. And today's world, we know. Today's world is full of information at our fingertips about everything. It takes one click of a button for you to find out about any topic that you want to find out. You want to find out research about something. I remember at the time when I initially started studying, when we had to actually go into a physical library with thousands of books, and you will have to find books that you think you would work with, and you would have a desk, and you would have a desk full of like 15 or 20 books, and you will have highlighted different pages of where you're going to get what from, and you will start to write down. Compare that to today. Compare that to today, and today of how we would be going to do research. Clicks of a button gives you multiple, sometimes millions of sites that you can go on, and you have to just quickly select what you want, and then you read up articles, as opposed to how we did it back then. How did it manage to change to become so much easier today? How did it manage to become so much easier in today's world for us to get information so easily available at our fingertips? Research. Research has done that, and it is that form of research that's made the impact. That's what's making so many of us want to learn more. And the internet has, of course, made it possible for anyone with any interest in any topic to be able to just access the information, the vast amounts of information, and in a very short time. That's thanks to research. Now, some of them might say, well, it's a blessing. Some would say it's a curse. But the point is, it is great because there's so much of information available to us. It allows that critical thinking process where you can analyze and see what works for you, what doesn't. It can, yes, sometimes become overwhelming to try to sort through everything that comes up as a list to know which one is best, which one is not, which is the most reliable source. But again, it allows for your thinking capacity as a self. So what is this importance of research in our daily life? It applies to you as an individual, as a self. It helps you to grow. It helps us to make these informed decisions, and it allows us to better understand this world that we're growing in. And in short, you know what, research is essential for health, safety, well-being, and without it, we would just be completely ignorant of everything with no sense of information whatsoever. You know, as a student, I remember me, and I remember some of the students in front of me. They say research plays a part in their lives because it helps them to gain knowledge and understand things. I just go a little bit further and I say, yes, it helps you to gain knowledge, but it gives you knowledge about you. Research helps you get knowledge about you. It helps you to think critically about yourself, and then it helps you to think critically about others too. Then it helps you to understand the world that is around you. It allows us to develop skills. When we see different aspects of certain things, we have to develop our research to find out, how can this skill work? What about this skill can I change? How can I uplift this skill? What are my perspectives on these different skills? Which one works for me? Somebody posed a question to the previous speaker about psychology. One of the biggest things about that is perspectives. If you have to look at wanting to, for example, do a survey on any form of anybody trying to get different skills, you will understand that the different skill will work for every different individual. Nothing works the same for every two people. And the only way for you to find out what works for who is to do the research on certain people versus certain people, their characteristics, their character traits, what about their persona works, what doesn't, surveys, talk to people, and then monitor those people in different time frames, etc. All of those things involve research, and it helps you to understand the skills that will apply to certain individuals, and characteristic traits might not necessarily be what works for the next. How do we know this? Again, research and its impact. So research is good for our students because it helps them to learn about what exactly they want as the end result of the research. As you keep studying, as you keep finding out more things, as your data keeps accumulating, you start to see things differently. Your analysis and your thought process start to change. This is key. Research allows us to go beyond our, so to speak, personal bubbles. We come out of that comfort zone and we explore new ideas and concepts. And this is so key. This is so key for us because we get so caught up in the rat race that we don't wish to come out of the comfort zone. But research allows that. Science allows that. Research and talking about things like on at platforms like this allows us to want to grow that thought process to learn even more. So it gives us this opportunity to develop these new skills that I spoke about. But in addition, the research is important because it helps us with innovation, to create new things. And when we conduct such research, then we're constantly learning the new information that's required. Go back to COVID. Everyone goes back to COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID. Post-COVID, everything is on a Zoom. Everything is technologically inclined. We all sitting here today because of COVID. So we have something to be grateful for. But it is because of this research that was done as to how can we get through to make sure work still gets done, even though people can't go out. It was research and researchers who put these things together, put these apps together, which we now are using. So it impacts on you. It impacts on you as a self. It impacts on your family. It impacts on your education. It impacts on anything about humanity. This could be the new way of doing things. If we can just get some people out there to start to understand that research is not just a scientific word. Research is a humane word. Research is about you as a person. Each person's daily life routine might differ because of their unique circumstance or because of the role that they play in certain things. But the research plays its role in your life, whether you're a student, educator, etc. It's playing its role there. And different though our routines may be on a daily basis, the value of that research in our lives is what will shine through brightly. It will have its value. You will place value on it because it gives you significance as an individual. It is important for you to understand and be aware of these things. Start becoming aware of these little research things that you are doing in your home, in your workplace, in your corporate entity, if you're sitting at a board, etc., all of these things. Become aware. Become aware of exactly what are you using research for? How are you using it? And us who are doing the research, let us filter that out there to make people realize research is not a I can't touch you attitude. Research is for everybody. Research is for us to grow together. And every day we benefit from countless hours of research that others are putting into. I am not a technological savvy somebody, but I can tell you I take my hat off to anybody who is, because without them, I don't know how I'd be able to do what I'm doing globally. So we need to understand that there are people that are out there spending countless hours of research time to make things easier for the balance of us who need to gain from it. And that is how scientists, for example, are going to, and I know they will, they're going to find solutions to majority of the problems in the world, not just scientists, everybody, if we take the time. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night, we actually we're relying on research to improve our lives in every way possible. From the time we started this seminar a few days ago, up until the point of me talking right now, I'm sure every speaker, every admin, everyone that's involved has learned and gained from every bit. And that's a form of research on its own. You know, many of the times, your phone, your laptop, all of this involves research that comes forward. And when we see news stories about new medical breakthroughs, Or when we see natural disasters that happen, very often, what's the first thing that happens? They go into what was the research finding of the last one. And suddenly you'll see stats come up of when was the last one, what was this? And all of that comes together. And then we see benefit of research. That benefit of the research impacts on you. And that word research is so beautiful for me because it shows us there's a variety. Research means there's a lot of stuff. Research means there's a variety of ways. And that for me means that there's a variety, broad sense of how we can gather data, how we can get information, how we can perceive that information, how we can put it together strategically so that it can actually enhance humanity at some point. So you start with a question or an area of interest, and then you use different sources to find this information, and that's going to help you answer at the end your topic, layman's terms of what the research is. But it's teaching us that there's so much more out there. And the purpose of this research is what we need to understand, that it helps you to answer problems not just for today. Research is helping us answer problems for tomorrow. And research is a process of where we uncover the facts. So what somebody might have found 3 years ago, today, if we're going to do research and we find this, we actually start to realize we can break down the fact that was found and unfind, and then refind and redefine certain things. And this is what's usually done, when we give people assignments, when we get our own assignments, when we want to do further assessments, we have to understand that defining your topic is key. That's going to help you to learn. But it's also going to help you to focus on what you are searching for, because you need to always understand that you need to know what is your vision. What exactly would you like the outcome to be? But bear in mind that once I'm starting my research, my findings might show that I might not be able to end up with that as my result. Am I open to that? That helps you start to analyze your critical thinking skills, you as a self. Once you know what you're looking for, you use keyword searches, etc. We all know these things, so I'm not going to go into that. But you need to achieve your goal. And when you're achieving your goals in terms of research and you want that to be impactful, then it takes careful planning. It takes a lot of hard work. And by taking time to do this homework, so to speak, you're going to definitely increase the chances of success with your research and finding out more about your topic of interest, and then your goals that you set initially are able to be reached. These kinds of methodologies, together with what the sister before me spoke in terms of her strategies, all of this allow you to have valuable insights. And those insights are going to help you into how to get over the potential obstacles you will face, how to overcome them. And in short, this research is an essential tool then. It is a tool. And when I say a tool is not a weapon. This is your tool. This is your tool to grow. This is your tool for anyone who wants to achieve something. What do I want to gain out of it? The next time then that we are faced with the decision, don't forget that you have to do research to get to your answer. Remember, when we're talking about research, when I'm talking about the true impact of any form of research on a self, on an individual, on humanity at large, we're talking about a self-concept. And a healthy self-concept is something that will impact you, especially if you tend to ask yourself everyday questions about you, because it affects you. It affects you. It affects how you interact with people. It affects how you think about yourself. It affects other people around you. It affects you in the role that you are playing as an individual, whatever your role may be. And put all of this together, then that concept of a self, that self-concept, effectively actually determines what you will do or what you will choose to do at any given moment in time. What will you do? What is your decision process? How would you clarify the decision that you are making? These are key ingredients of why research impacts you daily. So the research, as I've said before, is important. It is important for students, and it's important for every single one of us in the world. Research is key because it helps us to have a detailed analysis of everything. Whatever topic you want to bring up, whatever subject that there is, whatever crisis comes up, we look to research. And therefore, we have to say that when you have a proper in-depth analysis of any topic, then the result of what you are looking for is fruitful, is beneficial. You know how to weigh up the pros and cons in your empowered sense, how to learn more, and how that knowledge can become enhanced even further. And the same applies to you as a self. As a self, as an individual first, research impacts you. Then it impacts those around you. So we must take time to learn. We must take time to learn about ourselves, but learn a little bit more. What does this research concept mean in terms of me? Do not, if you are somebody who's not an academic, who at some point is going to listen to this, do not think that this is beyond you. Reach out within yourself and try to find how you as a self are actually attaining, maintaining, and sustaining you while you are learning on a daily basis. And grow yourself. Research within you, introspection. So learn that there is an impact of research on you as a self and humanity. And we as leaders who are trying our best also need to learn. We continuously learn. I personally am a lifelong learner. I'm going to continuously learn. And research is what helps me to do that, to keep gaining more knowledge, to give off more to humanity. So remember, when we have to talk about research, it's about you. It's about a self, it's about an individual, it's about humanity at large. And we need to take the time to introspect, to grow, to develop us as a self, and then as an individual. In some women empowerment programs, I always say, and this is no disrespect to any of our brothers that are listening, when we try to empower women, we're empowering one. But take it as any individual. If you're empowering an individual, you're empowering one person. That one person, empowered person, is within a family unit. And that person then grows themselves and develops themselves because of research and the impact of research on them. They are able to grow themselves in that family unit. And when we're able to get through to that family unit, that then has a catalyst effect. And then the community grows and develops too. And once that community grows and develops, because of research again and the impact of research, we then growing society. And because of impacts of research on a self, on people and their individual sense of mental capacity, what happens with that society? Societies then start to develop and grow because of the impact of research. And that is how we build nations. That is how the world and humanity can grow. And that's where we sit at. So youth, we always say, there is a saying that youth are leaders of tomorrow. I believe that our youth are already leaders of today. In whichever grade, whichever standard, whatever age, you are leaders of today, preparing for tomorrow. And part of that preparation is what we're talking about in terms of research. Research is part of that preparation for them that is going to equip them to have the greatest impact on lives when they are going to be sitting in leadership roles tomorrow. So thank you again for having me on this platform. I am really honored to be here. I am sorry that I had no paid PPT, but I'm hoping that my speech to you and whatever I've given to you has had an impact somewhat and that it has been fruitful. God bless and thank you very much.